Hello and welcome to another episode of the Gold Country Media Sports Jam. Summer is in full swing, as Alice Cooper said. School's out, but sports aren't out. We've still got plenty going on. We had section championships in baseball and softball since we last saw you, and we're on to the NorCal tournament. But before we get into all that, it's just nice to see you guys. Hope everyone enjoyed your weekend. Aaron, let's start with you. What'd you do over the weekend? How'd you enjoy your 3-day weekend?
Yeah, so went over to my friend's house, played poker, lost $20 on a three of a kind, and somebody got a flush on the river, so you gotta love that whenever that happens. And then yeah, just played some games and watched some stuff, worked a little bit because I actually was announcing the section championships for softball on Saturday at Sac State, and then went over to Folsom Lake on Sunday to go catch Sierra baseball, which we'll get into. But yeah, no, I mean overall it was a good weekend, and obviously now it's kind of like as you mentioned, time of the year where it's going to slow down at least a little bit in terms of stuff going on. So that'll be bad and nice in a way, I guess.
Exactly. That's how I put it. It's my favorite, least favorite time of the year.
Yeah.
How about you? How'd you enjoy your Memorial Day?
You know, I mean, I enjoyed it, but I really didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, we had some people come over for my mother-in-law's birthday, and that was nice. And we had people over Friday night for dinner. That was nice. But other than having people over for dinner, we didn't really do anything. So,
All right. I like it. I wish I had that weekend. We had my sister's graduation was Saturday morning from Del Oro. So and I
Saturday morning,
covered
that
it
was an
for our
interesting
paper.
time.
What was that?
Saturday morning, that's an interesting time. I like it.
Yeah, it started at 8 a.m., and get this. So I'm covering the graduation for our paper, and my family's notoriously late, right? Always. So my uncle calls me at 7:51 and goes, "Hey, what's the plan?" I'm like, "What do you mean, what's the plan? Like, shouldn't you be here? Like, the stadium's full." So it turns out they're in the parking lot. I meant, "What's the plan? Where are we sitting?" But I'm like, "Dude, what do you mean?" But no, it was a good time. We had our grad party after on Saturday, and then Sunday we, just kind of hung out. It was my brother's 21st birthday over the weekend too, so we celebrated that as well. And yeah, now we're
I
yesterday just what was that?
I really like the Saturday morning graduation idea. I mean, all these
Yes
schools
and
try to
no.
do it in the evening, and some people are in track meets and misses. I mean, this I like it.
I would have
I
liked
like
that.
it. So it started a few years ago. Del Oro actually had some people, my junior year of high school, they had some people pass out at graduation because they did it a little later in the day.
Yeah,
And they moved it to the morning since then, and it has worked out because like last year they played the softball section championship the morning that or the day they graduated, so they had graduation in the morning, and then they were raising a blue banner later that afternoon. So i
I
i
would have
like it,
liked when
but what was
I was
that?
just gonna say I would have liked when I graduated from Lincoln had they done it Saturday morning because I graduated and it was like 96 at 8 o'clock. They had to move it back an hour just to make it cooler, and it was still hot as heck.
I will say this though, when you're graduating in all black on turf, it's never a nice time of day to graduate. There, you could graduate at 4 a.m. That being said, waking up at 5:30 for a graduation is not the most ideal thing in the world because you got to get there an hour early to save seats and everything. And that, yeah. So the 8 a.m. graduation's cool. The waking up at 5:30 on a day you're supposed to have off is not my favorite thing in the world.
well, I just hope they were done by like 9:15.
Oh, they were done by 9:15,
Oh
9:30.
yeah,
We were out of the parking lot,
that's
and
good.
I mean, we actually fed the dogs when we got home from graduation because we're like, we don't want to feed them at 6 a.m. when we're leaving. So, but no, it's a good weekend. I had some sports to cover, but I want to hear from you guys because you guys had the majority of them over the weekend.
Hey,
I
one
was
more
just
thing, one more
buzzing
thing on
around.
graduation.
Yes.
I wasn't there, but Doug covered Oak Ridge graduation, and they graduated over 600 kids, and he said it was the fastest graduation ever. Like, the principal talked, one other adult talked. The what's the dignitary called?
The
The
valedictorian.
valedictorian talk, and that was it. And they did the names, 600 names. They were out there.
They did that at Del Oro. They had just over 400, I think, and they powered through those names. They
Yeah,
were like boom, boom, boom. It was like no nonsense. Like we're going through. I'm
That's
like,
that's the
man.
way they should be. Like he said, like Folsom had like 10 speakers. It's like Jesus God.
So I covered Forest Hills last year, and Forest Hill was interesting because they only graduated like 45, 50 kids because it's such a small school. But because they did that, the graduation ceremony was the same amount of time. They just gave a chance for more speakers. And I was sitting there like, wait a minute. I agreed to do this one because I thought I'd be in and out of here in 40 minutes. I didn't think it was just going to be listening to all these speeches. They're like, okay, the president of the robotics club is talking.
All right. All right. I'm
But-
sorry. You guys can go on now.
No, you're all good. Aaron, let's start with you. You had some stuff over the weekend, or I guess during the week, before we even get to the weekend. You had a couple section champions in your area. I know I covered one of them, so I can touch on that, but let's hear about where you were.
Yeah, so I'll get into my Tuesday and Thursday from last week. Tuesday I was at Whitney for the Division II softball semis against St. Mary's. Senior Sarah O'Day, one of only 4 seniors on the team, by the way. They're a very young team over there at Whitney. O'Day hit a 2-run double in the bottom of the 4th, and the Wildcats were able to hold on for a 2-0 win to advance to the section title game for the first time since 2019. Pitcher Hannah Duncan had a great game with 6 strikeouts and a complete game shutout. I will get into her performance in the section championship later on, which was actually even better than that performance in the semis. Before I do that, Thursday I was at Sac City College for the Division II baseball championship between Granite Bay and Rio, a rematch of last season when Granite Bay won, and it was deja vu as Granite Bay won once again. It was a 3-0 win this time. They won 4-2 last year. They were led by Jack Gouffran on the mound. He was actually the same starter as last season. There was actually the same 2 starters as well for both teams last season. It was really interesting to see. But Gouffran this time, I think he only pitched like 3 innings last year because he gave up a run early and they decided to pull him. We're going to go with Caden Hunter instead. Well, Hunter's graduated and Gouffran's, I guess, gotten a lot better. He pitched the entire game, 10 strikeouts on 100 pitches on the dot, only allowed 2 hits in the game.
Wow.
Offensively, Cody Ferrante and Jace Bystrowski, who was a transfer from Jesuit from early in the year, they both had RBIs in the game. Granite Bay's young. They only have 6 seniors. Last year, I think they had 14 seniors. You know, they have a lot of juniors and sophomores. You know, I said after last year, I was like, I don't know if this team's going to be able to do it again. And what do you know? They go back out there and they make another run. And just like all the other sports at Granite Bay, the main sports, at least for basketball and football, you know, they might not look that great during the season, but the SFL is insane. That seems to be the theme of what we've been talking about on the show all year. And it makes teams stronger, and they just seem to fight their way through playoffs, and they win a section title. Pat Esposito really has something special going on over there at Granite Bay.
You know, Aaron, that actually brings me to a question because I was thinking this. They played in a section championship in basketball with a sub 500 record. They won a section title in baseball with a sub 500 record.
And football was sub 500.
Yeah, and football was sub 500, and they made a run to the section title. Is it almost better in the SFL if you don't finish top 2 or top 3?
You know,
It's
it's
like just rest it, have load management for your players, and have them still be running through the playoffs.
I mean, I know there was a couple injuries, I think, at least for football, and then they made their way back and they kind of were healthy. But it just goes to show, though, that obviously winning a league title is huge. And I've heard coaches from the SFL at multiple different schools say, hey, winning a league title for us in this league almost feels like a section title sometimes. But, for what it's worth, regardless of where you're at, because 5 teams make the playoffs in SFL in a lot of different sports. You make a run, you're a section champion, like Whitney basketball, for example. They didn't win the league title. I think Folsom won the league title. And I want to say Whitney finished either second or third. They won a section title. Whitney girls basketball finished 3rd in the league. They went on to win a section title. It just goes to show it really doesn't matter where you finish in the league when it comes to sections. Any team in the SFL is going to have a shot to go out there and win it. So, you got to, if you're any opposing team, you got to be ready.
Well, and even, I mean, if you look at it, like, Del Oro softball and boys basketball both were upset in the first round this year. Both of those teams absolutely had the talent to be on a run. I think basketball, especially, I think everyone picked them in this show to be in the section final for D2. And Del Oro football was a fumble away from going to a section title. And I mean, just if you look at that league, it's Del Oro baseball, even they were in a win or go home series with Granite Bay in the final series of the regular season. Granite Bay now, they get in on the last week of the season, taking 2 out of 3 from DO, and the winner of that series is in. Now they're raising a section title. So you got to think Del Oro's watching this going, man, we were one win away from being a section championship team.
Yeah, it just
I
goes
mean-
to show you how close it is. Yeah.
Yeah, Whitney football last year, I think you and I were talking about, they went 3-7. Everyone said if they just find a way to get in the playoffs, one, it would have had every SFL team in the playoffs, and two, I think everyone was like, they're going to go on a run because all you need to do is just get in, and who knows
Yeah.
what can happen. So,
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, I think it further solidified itself as the best league in our area, but possibly the best league in Northern California.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, how about you? Where were you at for the first half of your week? You had a few section championships as well.
Yeah, I just was at Ponderosa, a number 2 seed in the D3 playoff softball, playing Vista del Lago. Good competitive game that could have gone either way, and it looked like it was going to go either way in the up to the last inning. Vista trailed 1-0 after 3 innings, but broke through with 3 runs in the top of the 6th. As Allie Morrissey led off with a walk, Olivia Manchester doubled to put runners on second and third. Charlize Kai then doubled herself to make the score 2-1. And then Kai scored on a Riley Dawsey sacrifice fly. So, Vista, who had done nothing all game, all of a sudden is leading 3-1, 3 outs away, from a section playoff, from a second straight section championship game berth. And the things fell apart really quick in the bottom of the 7th. The inning began with a dreaded leadoff walk. So right there, you're in trouble. Then Ponderosa's Iris Perez doubled to left field to put tying run in scoring position after a strikeout. Number 9 hitter Molly McFarland hit the ball to Riley Dawsey at third base, and her throw to first was off the mark, allowing the tying run to score. And that's something I really felt bad for Vista because that's something they hadn't done all year. This was a solid defensive team. Like, they don't give up extra runs, extra outs. And that just goes to prove that anything can happen in these games, because that's just so uncharacteristic of them to throw the ball around. And it just so happened to happen on that play. And then Tatum Silva was then safe on an infield hit. And Ponderosa then won the game with a dribbler. They hit down the third baseline by Whitney Montoya at a spot where Dawsey had no play. She fielded it finally, but it was such a slow hit ball, and she couldn't have gotten out at first anyway. So, and Whitney won that game. Am I going to Saturday, or what am I doing?
You can hold off. We'll do the second half of the week.
Let me ask a quick question to Matt. If Vista wins that game, because obviously Pondo went on, I think they won 1-0, I want to say, against Central Catholic in the D3 championship on Saturday. You think Vista would have gone on to win that game?
Well, I would say yeah.
Yeah. I felt so bad because I saw the play on video, and I felt so bad for what happened. And then, the slapper down third, even that could have been an out too, so.
Oh, you saw that?
Still a great season. Yeah, on 49er Sakai.
Fun fact for you guys, Whitney Montoya on Ponderosa, her dad is the founder of Max Preps. That's Steve Montoya, and her uncle is Placer football coach Joey Montoya. So
correct.
A very high school sports family right there.
Yep, and Steve's a very cool guy.
Yeah, awesome guy. Shout out to them. So the first half of my week, I was actually at a softball semifinal game on Tuesday as well. That was Oak Ridge and Granite Bay. So stop me if you've heard this before, but a team that lost to the SFL champion, an SFL team that lost to the SFL champion, finished like 3rd or 4th in the league, ended up winning the playoff game, because that's exactly what happened here. Oak Ridge jumped on Granite Bay early in this one. They actually they were up 8, or they came up, I believe it was 3-2, and then Granite Bay, or 3-0, Granite Bay scores a run or two, but Oak Ridge really was in control for most of the game. After giving up 2 runs in the first inning, they really, held their own. Oak Ridge sophomore pitcher Ellison Schroeder threw a complete game in this one. She got in that jam in the first inning and then was dominant the rest of the game. But Oak Ridge they were 1 out away from advancing to the section championship game with an 8-2 lead over Granite Bay. I was actually sitting there kind of like, I thought this was going to be a really close game. I was a little disappointed. Like, man, I hope this was going to be closer. And then, all of a sudden, Granite Bay has the bases loaded in the home half of the 7th. And Caitlin Van Dusen scores on an error. And then Grizzlies add 3 more with a 2 RBI double by Liliana Nunez and RBI double by Sammy McCown. now all of a sudden the tying run is on second base and it's 8-6. And everyone's like, hold on, what's going on here? Granite Bay has all the momentum. And then actually Granite Bay batter, I'm blanking on her name right now, but she ends up hitting one, ripping one down the first baseline. And this thing landed from where I was standing. I was more by the Oak Ridge dugout. It landed maybe 3 to 6 inches foul, like very close to being fair. It would have easily tied the game, probably put her on second, maybe even third, and you would have had the go-ahead run on base in scoring position. Instead, it's a foul ball, and then the next pitch, she hits a ground ball to third baseman Carmen Montes de Aca, and she ends up making the throw over to first, and Trojans hang on for the 8-6 victory. Schroeder did throw the complete game, so even in the jam, they kept her in. And, I thought that was really cool that, I thought it showed a lot of trust by Oak Ridge's coaching staff to keep her in the game. She was in a jam, she was flustered. Ironically, the jam actually started by a throwing error by her. So, it's a tough situation, but I like that they left her in. I asked her about it. I'm like, hey, you stayed out there when I think most coaches would have pulled their player. And, she said she actually loved the confidence that they had in her, and they made her feel like she can finish the game. And no matter how stressed she got, she was like, I was relaxed because I knew that, my team behind me could back me up, and I knew the coaches had faith. So I thought that was huge. And that's huge to instill that type of confidence in a sophomore on the mound, I think.
You bring up a good point because yes, she is a sophomore, and B, I mean, she's been injured and has not pitched that much. I mean, the first 2 playoffs games she pitched like 2 innings and 4 innings. She didn't pitch the whole game,
right?
Because she's been injured. Her arm hurts, and that was the first playoff game. That was the first game she pitched the whole game since I can't be sure. I mean, but as far as I know, that's the first complete game she pitched since she initially got hurt, which was over spring break. So that's
yeah, I mean, that's huge. And I think that's the type of thing that you can build off of and get a lot of confidence with, especially moving forward. And you still have 2 years of high school softball left. I mean, that's huge. And then the second game I hit in the week, I'll get into the second half of the week in a little bit, but I was at Sac City on Wednesday night for the Division IV Section Championship baseball game. I'll start by this. Some people say I might be Nostradamus, but I told the Oakmont baseball coach on Monday in game 1 of the semifinal matchup with Placer, the winner of this series is going to win the section. And they said, are you sure about that? And I said, 100%, the winner of this is winning the section. And Oakmont won that series and then made a statement in the section championship with a 10-0 victory over Woodland in 5 innings. This is an interesting thing. Oakmont 2 weeks into FVL season was in last place in the league. And now a month and a half later, they're dogpiling on the pitcher's mound. Kurt Martin ended up throwing a 1-hitter for the Vikings. He struck out 7 in that one. So, he was dominant out there today. He was coming off 2 weeks rest. They didn't even use him in the playoffs up until then. That was his first playoff action all year. Or no, he did throw, he threw in the first playoff game. So they didn't use him at all in the semifinals. But, I mean, that was huge to have your ace coming in off 2 weeks rest. Tony Lira was huge for them. He's going to Arizona next year. He had a couple big runs. I'm looking, there was another one I had too. Casey Tibbetts too had a 3 RBI double for them. Oakmont now, they shut down a red hot Woodland team that came in winning 15 of the last 16. I know the competition wasn't that great. Now they're moving on to NorCal's. Aaron, I think you said they got a 5 seed.
Yeah, they have to go play Liberty out of the Bay Area, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. I mean, and Oakmont, I was talking to some people, and we kind of said, I know Woodland's record coming in was like 20-4. But I was making the argument that I think you could have made a pretty strong case. I know the records weren't showing it. Oakmont coming into the postseason was something like, 16-12, and Placer was something like, 14-11. But I thought you could have made a pretty strong argument that those were the 1 and 2 seed. Those were the 2 best teams in that bracket, and probably could have been seeded 1 and 2. It's just the FVL was so deep that, you couldn't really when you're barely finishing above 500, you have a hard time saying, oh, yep, that's the 1 seed.
Right. Well, then go look at Pondo. They make it to the semis and barely lose to Pioneer, who I think lost by a run in the section championship.
Yeah, I think that was like a 10-inning game or something.
Right, exactly. And then Lincoln barely lost to Pioneer, who ended up going as well. I mean, both of those teams basically exact same right there. So, I mean, yeah, as you mentioned, the FVL was really deep this year. Just out of curiosity, how quick did that game go? Because I know it ended in 5 innings.
I believe it was an hour and 10 minutes, but if I'm being completely honest, it felt like it was over 15 to 20 minutes in. Oakmont put 2 runs up on the board in the first inning, and then Martin just shut them down, and Woodland looked like shell-shocked. And then Oakmont doesn't do anything in the second, and then third inning, they put like 5 up or something like that. And, it felt like I was still saying hi to some of the other reporters that were there, and all of a sudden 7-0, and you're just like, okay, this is done. I mean, Woodland just didn't have an answer. Their ace was out too. So, there is a question mark of what would have been if he threw, but Oakmont was clearly the better team there, and they really made a statement with that win.
So the motto of the show that we've learned today is be horrible your first 2 weeks of the season and then go out and play good, and then you'll be a section champion.
I mean, honestly, look at the Miami Heat, look at the Florida Panthers, look at the Vegas Golden Knights.
Hey, fair enough.
Hey, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So
exactly. I mean, how many times that's why I love they're expanding the college football playoff finally, but that's a whole different tangent to go off of. But yeah, that's gonna do it for the first half of my week. I'll get into where I was at over the weekend a little bit. Let's go back to you, Aaron. I guess if you and Matt even want to tag team this one, because you guys were in the same building for the second half of your week.
Well, yeah. So before I was at that Friday, I was at Sac City once again. This time it was for the Division I section title game between Whitney and Franklin. Last year, Franklin lost to McClatchy in the section semis, so this was another one we almost got back to back. I mean, Franklin was a higher seed last year. McClatchy just happened to win that game. Whitney, of course, went on to win the section title, so they were also going to try to win back to back here this year. But the Franklin, it was the battle of the Wildcats. Franklin's the Wildcats as well, and this time, Franklin said otherwise. Whitney began the game hot with 2 runs off of hits by Jonathan Vavac and Luke Euler. For Franklin High, Nolan Stevens, who's a Mississippi State commit, went 2 for 3 with a run scored and a 2 RBI double. Derek Pham had 2 RBIs in the game as well. Jace Gilmore got the start for Whitney. He was the starter last year, went the distance and won the game, but this year he struggled a bit. He gave up 5 runs. Gavin McClendon came in relief, and he did a great job, only allowed 2 base runners and struck out 2 batters in the final 2.2 innings. Still wasn't enough, as Whitney just struggled at the plate and only had 4 base runners after the first inning and lost 6-2. Whitney's still a great team. I honestly, I was talking to multiple people there. It really didn't feel like they did much wrong. Even when they even after they scored the 2 in the first inning and struggled getting really runners on base, they were hitting barrels at guys. They just happened to be getting caught. They hit a barrel at the pitcher, just happened to get caught. Nick Abraham was the pitcher, by the way, for Franklin. He's a great pitcher. He's only a junior. He's going to be really solid. Keep that name in mind for next season, because I wouldn't be surprised if he commits to a D1 school. And then there were some barrels hit to the outfield as well. It just wasn't Whitney's day. Sometimes the baseball doesn't bounce your way. So Whitney's going to be going on. I think they're going to be traveling to Cardinal Newman in the Division I bracket. They are the 5 seed playing in NorCal starting today. So we'll see what they can do with that. And then Saturday, so I'll start with the first game, and then Matt can jump in for the second game. But I was at Sac State announcing the D1 and D2 softball championships. Jim Linzow actually covered the Whitney game for us, but I'll still kind of recap it. The Wildcats faced Vacaville and won 7-1. Vacaville came into the game, I believe, 29-1. Also, though, you kind of mentioned Woodland with their league. Vacaville, no disrespect to their league, but obviously it's not the SFL, so you got to keep that in mind. Whitney saw that record and said, we don't care. They put up 4 runs in the third, including a 2-run shot by Maya Flint over the left field fence, followed by an absolute tank over the center field fence by Tylee Kitchen. If you've ever been to Shea Stadium at Sac State, basically center field I don't know, it's probably like 220. But then there's also like a wall on top of like the wall in center field. So, I mean, if you're going to get over that, you probably got to hit it 240, 250. And she just hit a bullet and it went over that. And so, she got the homer as well. Maya went on to hit an RBI single in the fifth. Vacaville struggled at the plate, only had 4 hits in the game. Whitney's a section champion. They won their second section title in school history in softball, their first since 2019. So that was a pretty exciting game. I will definitely want to add a little bit onto what Matt says about this game, but I will go ahead and pass it over to him for the second game of the day, Oak Ridge and Inderkum.
Yes, this was a great game as well. Just Oak Ridge wins it 5-4 in a walk-off for their 10th softball section championship, and first since winning 4 in a row from 2007 2010. And yes, I was around for those. In the bottom of the 8th inning, the Trojans got an all-important leadoff hitter on base when Emery Glazer hit an infield single. She hauled it down to first to beat the throw. A bunt by Carly Short pushed Glazer to second and led Inderkum's coach to the decision of intentionally walking Brooklyn Parator. Sam Alekman drew a walk to load the bases, and Maddie Ridge won the game for the Trojans. She smacked the ball to center field for the game-winning hit. It was the inning before Oak Ridge almost won it on a walk-off in the 7th inning. They had a play at the plate. Jessica Zielinski singled to left field, but Inderkum's Mia Garcia made a perfect throw to catcher Alexandra Jock, who made a tag on Carmen Montez de Oca to send the game in the 8th inning. No, I thought that was a good call. Aaron, did you think that was a good call, or
what, the intentional walk?
No, the play at the plate. The
play at the plate. Yeah. No, I thought that was good. Yeah, I thought you were talking for a second about the intentional walk. I was not a fan of their decision to intentionally walk in that situation. No. I would have just pitched. Yeah. Especially since I think you're pitching to a freshman at that point. I mean, obviously she's been a great player all season, but I mean, you're putting a lot of pressure on your pitcher out there to get out of a hole with 1 out, and I wasn't a fan of that decision.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is, and Oak Ridge hadn't done much the whole game, and they got it done. So congrats to them. That's all I have on that game.
I have to ask you, because there were a couple names on that roster that were hard. How did I do? Did I do all right pronouncing Jessica's name?
Yeah, you did fine.
Good, because I was really worried, because that's really hard. It's like Zelani, and the way it's spelled is like not that.
I can't even say that name, so you did better than I
did. No, it was a really good game, though. I mean, I guess if there's anything I want to add, I came in thinking Oak Ridge was going to beat them pretty handily, because I had seen Inderkum play like Wood Creek earlier this year. No disrespect to Inderkum, I mean, they're a great team, but they were co-league champions with Wood Creek, and Oak Ridge I think is a better team than both of those teams. But Inderkum, they held strong, and they had some really good players. They made some really good plays. I think you mentioned it, the play from left field to home on that throw that sent it into the extra innings. You could really kind of feel the momentum switch when Oak Ridge tied the game, that Inderkum was going to have a hard time, but even after they got that throw out. But I mean, it was a really exciting game. I even said it after the game, give a hand to both these teams, because I mean, they gave us what, in my opinion, was, even though it's neither team I cover, the best softball game I've probably seen all season. It was a really solid game.
It was. And Oak Ridge, mind you, again, one senior who did not play. So everyone who played on that team will be back again next year. So
and the theme of softball this year, I've told a lot of people about this. Last year it felt like it was the year of the seniors. It was an insane good senior class last year from all over the section. This year, it's full of freshmen, but it's, there's a lot of teams out there that only have 3 or 4 seniors. I think between all 4 teams that played in the section championships at Sac State on Saturday, there was a combined 12 seniors between those 4 teams, which means those 4 teams, Vacaville, Whitney, Oak Ridge, and Inderkum, they're going to be great again, next year. So, I mean, the Sac Joaquin section's got some good softball out there in the future.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we have, if you even look at some of these teams that maybe just missed the playoffs or stuff like that too, they're young too. I mean, these are teams where, when these girls develop, they could be right up there, and it's going to be really fun. I think some of the best softball in the state is going to be right here in our backyard for the next.
And me and Matt were actually both at the same location again on Sunday, but at different times. I had the second game of the day, so Matt, if you want to talk about the craziness from game 1 at Folsom Lake, go right ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go back to Saturday first, because
For sure, my bad.
Folsom Lake's first game against Santa Ana in the state playoffs was probably the craziest game I've ever seen in my life. And like last year's games were crazy. Like every college baseball, I don't go to many games during the regular season. I just hit the postseason. Unlike you, Aaron, you love it. But I mean, it seems like every game I go to is like extra innings and a lot of runs are scored. Every game is 12-11, 13-10. It's just crazy how offensively these teams hit the ball. But this game went 5 hours and 12 minutes long, 15 innings, and it ended 11:42 p.m. Saturday. Santa Ana won the game 8-7. Now it wasn't as high scoring as normally, but it was, they won with a solo home run on the top of the 15th that Folsom Lake couldn't answer. It was 3-3 at the end of the ninth inning, and Santa Rosa scored 4 runs in the top of the 14th. So they're celebrating like crazy. They got this game in the bag. No, Folsom Lake scores 4 to tie it up at 7 and send the game in the 14th. That was just a crazy inning. And Folsom Lake had their chance. I mean, I've never seen a team in extra innings have more chances to win a game than Folsom Lake, which is good, and which is good because they created these chances, but which is bad because they couldn't capitalize. They had through the 8th through the 13th inning, that's 6 innings. They had 6 chances to win the game, and they did not do it. They got the leadoff hitter on base 5 of those 6 innings, could not get the game-winning run in. Never have I seen a team create and fail to capitalize on so many chances. It was agonizing. Because you think as just you're viewing the game, it's over now. They got it. I mean, they had a runner on second and 2 out or 1 out and 2 consecutive innings, could not get him in. And like one inning, they had I don't know. There's a runner second or third. I think it might have been second and third actually. Could have been the bases loaded. 1 out, and this hitter hits he hits a rifle back right at the pitcher. Pitcher catches it, throws to home for 1, catcher to the first, double play. We're going to the next inning. It's like, I mean, all they needed was for that ball to clip off his glove, and they Folsom Lake wins. And they could. I mean, I don't know how he caught the ball. I mean, I think they hit 2 pitchers. I think the pitcher had 2 plays in the extra innings where they made catches like that. It's just crazy how it just was not on the Folsom Lake side. But anyway, they lost that game, so they had to go play Sierra College in Sunday morning in the opener of the big long day of baseball. And Folsom Lake off to a great start, leading 6-0. I mean, last night was forgotten. They're feeling good. They're playing well. They're pitching well. I texted Aaron kind of like to say, Aaron, hey, you got the rest of the day off. I mean, that's what I was thought. That's what I was thinking when I typed. Like, oh, Aaron, you just Folsom Lake's up 6-0. You're good. Just then, a leadoff batter gets on an error. They get an out, a 2-run home run, 6-2. The next 5 batters get singles, and there's an outfield error. And God, I mean, Folsom Lake, if they could get rid of their outfield errors in those 2 games, they would have at least been the championship game. I don't know how many errors they had out there, but it was not pretty. And missing cutoff man, that's mistakes that you shouldn't make in Little League. But anyway, that's besides the point. Sierra College scored 8 runs in the bottom of the 5th inning to take an 8-6 lead. Folsom tied it up, to their credit, tied it up 8-8 in the top of the 6th. And then went up 10-8 in the 7th, but Sierra College made it 10-9 in the 7th, bottom of the 7th. And bottom of the 9th, they won it in a walk-off home run, 2-run shot, 11-10 by, I don't know if he's a Delaware graduate. You would know his name, but I didn't write it down.
Logan Setter?
No. This is a Sierra College guy.
Phoenix Casillas. It was Phoenix Casillas.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was it, and they won the game. And I don't know what they did after that, but Aaron, you do.
Yes, I do. And first thing I got to ask, because if you were able to go and catch the game on a Saturday night, did you get there like the second inning? When did you get there? Because I know obviously that game had started after you had left Sax Bay, because I know that was game.
I got there it was the second inning.
Okay, gotcha.
How much coffee did you go through on Saturday?
Jeez, I didn't have any.
Red Bull.
I didn't have nothing, and I was irritated because I'm like, why do these games always happen to me? I mean, it seems like I always get the extra inning, like a lot of runs scored, extra inning game. I mean, I got home at midnight, And then next thing I know, I wake up on the couch. It's 2:22, and I'm still not. My story's half done. I'm like, I just went to bed. I wake up early tomorrow and write it, but it was just. I always get these crazy games.
It was
is
funny
tough
'cause
too,
I looked
'cause, like baseball and softball and stuff. When you get the extra innings, it's like okay, like you know, you don't know when those are going to end. At least like basketball, football, like when you get overtime in those, basketball, there's a clock. Like
Yeah.
it's very rare to go anything past 1 or 2 overtimes.
Yeah.
Football, maybe it's a little longer, but still, football usually wraps their overtime up within 30 minutes in the longest games. Like,
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
really see. I mean, baseball, if you're going into extra innings, you're like, dude, put another pot of coffee on. We're going to be here another hour. Like,
And this one, like every inning, I thought, okay, Folsom Lake's got 2 guys on the 9th inning. They got this right. No, they got 2 guys on 10th inning. Nope, 2 guys 11. I mean, they had runners in every inning and they didn't score.
and do they do international rule with a
No,
runner on second?
no. They don't.
Because so I'll get this. So when I did some stuff for the Potters, their rule for their league is international rule. So there's a runner on second, but they don't want a pitcher to be able to lose a game by not giving up a hit. Meaning, like, someone sack bunts them over and then a sack fly and the game's over, but it's like the pitcher didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get that. So they countered it with starting with 1 out. So you have a runner on second and 1 out. And I'm like, then just start with the bases empty.
exactly.
What are we doing here?
It's a complete overcomplication of the game. It's like I understand that the whole goal right now is to try to make games shorter, but just play normally.
Right.
Like
Or start with the runner on first. Make them have to work their way into scoring position.
I like that. That's a good compromise.
Yeah.
I was just,
my God.
Yeah. Man, I was just gonna say one last thing, Matt. It was funny because I looked over to you during the softball game when that throw went to home and went to extras, and though I could kind of read what you were thinking. You're probably like, "Oh man, that's a heck of a play. That's amazing." But God dang it, why do we have to go in extra?
Well, that's what I thought. Like I text my wife, right? I'm like, okay, well, my first game is going to extra innings. I'm already going to be late for the second one anyway, so it's going to be pushed back even later. And little did I know, the next one gave me 15 innings. I'd see,
Yeah. Well,
Definitely.
I'll go ahead and get into my Sunday here. This will be the last part of our sports for the week. Shows you how crazy of a week it was. So Sunday, I was also at Folsom Lake College for the CCCAA Baseball State Championships to see Sierra. They were basically, had they beaten Saddleback in the game I covered, they would have made it to the state championship round against Santa Ana yesterday on Monday. Saddleback proved too much, though. They won 10-4. Despite the crazy comeback that Sierra had made, they weren't able to do it. They actually lost to Saddleback on night 1 of the championships, 10-9 on a walk-off. Sierra did get back in the game. The 10-4 loss, I should say. They got back into it with 2 runs in both the 5th and the 6th inning. They cut the lead to 7-4. They had RBIs by Joshua Hardiman and a 2 RBI single by Del Campo alum Dylan Wells. It just wasn't enough, though. Wolverines can still hold their heads up and say, hey, we're the NorCal champs. They finished 3rd in the state. That's the best finish they've had, I want to say, since at least 2012. Last time they won a state title was 2008. But very special group of guys, a lot of solid sophomores, and some really good freshmen that are on the come up. Alumni from all around, from Lincoln, from Granite Bay, Del Oro, Colfax, all over the area. And it was a very special team to kind of get to watch. I've seen them a couple times this season, and tough to see it end the way it did, but still a heck of a season for the Wolverines.
Aaron,
Definitely. And
do we know?
Oh, go ahead, Matt.
I was just asking Aaron, do we know who won the whole shebang?
Yeah, so Santa Ana won, I want to say 21-6 or 21-9 over Saddleback yesterday.
Jesus, okay.
Santa Ana
That's a
just
brutal one
dominated.
too. 30 runs in a game, but you're not even getting a close game. I mean, man, that's got the baseball gods can be so cruel sometimes. Like, why would you do that?
They ought to. I mean, they ought to. I don't know if that'll help, but they ought to. I mean, if they just should make it over 4 days, or like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, just to give the pitchers a chance to recover or something. I mean, 21-9. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
with you.
exactly.
And if you guys want to hear a rough one, when I worked for Jessup, when I was a student there was a baseball game, and it was the most runs scored in McBean Park history. The final score was 27-16.
Jeez,
man, that's crazy because pick 6 and a field goal, and that's a whole different ball game. I mean, I was just like 27. I was writing the Twitter that day too. And actually, there was a bases loaded situation for the school that had 16, and it was like 21-16 at the time. And Jessup ended up getting out of it. And I said something like, after a great goal line stand, Jessup is going to take over offensively.
That's amazing.
But-
Jordan, I know you want to get in where you're at the second half of the week. I just wanted to quickly just go through a roundup real quick of my other sports. So boys golf, Granite Bay boys are actually going to be playing on Wednesday tomorrow at Poppy Hills. They finished third in NorCal's at Berkeley Country Club last Monday. So congrats to them. Luke Price and Josh Liker of Rockland will also be there. I'm not going to lie, it went through my head to maybe go down and check that out because that would have been really cool. And then, of course, Whitney Baseball or somebody's playing right down close to there. I thought about maybe grabbing a room, but that did not work out. And then in track and field, Giselle Kirchner from Rockland finished second in hurdles at state. So congrats to her. Grace Sloan also made it to state, I believe, the triple jump. Ashanti Ellie is a state champion in the high jump, 5 feet 10 inches, and cleared on her first jump. So congrats to her. Juliana Roberson of Whitney also made the finals at state in the triple jump. Some really solid athletes from the area that made it there. So congrats to all of them. And then just going over brackets for NorCal's real quick. I talked about a couple of things, but Whitney softball is actually going to be playing today at home. They are the 4 seed hosting Archbishop Mitty, and once again, the winner of that will play the winner of the 1 seed versus Oak Ridge on Thursday.
All right, I like it. Matt, what about you? Do you have any other sports to round up, or was that?
Yeah, I do. I just have a little bit of track. Brooke Butler, Oak Ridge, placed 17th in the 3200, time 10:54.10. And Tyler Lang, he said before he was just going to enjoy he's a junior. He was happy to make it. Wasn't really putting any pressure on himself, didn't care how he did, how he would do, but he made the finals. And so he, in the shot put. So I know, I'm sure he was happy to do that because he told me he didn't care how he did, basically. So he made the finals, which he was happy with. Placed 11th with a throw of 50 feet, 7 1/2 inch.
All right, I like it. Yeah, second half of my week, I guess it was quick. I was also at some college baseball this weekend, but it was for the Lincoln Potters. It was their opening night, and shout out to Sierra College and Folsom Lake College, because those of you who don't know how the Potters work, it's collegiate summer ball. So you get a lot of your guys when their college seasons are over. Now the Potters are in one of the better leagues, so they get a lot of Division I talent. But the thing is, that Division I talent doesn't usually come until mid-June, because a lot of these teams are still playing in the NCAA tournament, even a few College World Series teams. So what the Potters do is you get a lot of temporary players to start the season. I'm talking guys from NAIA, D2, we get a lot from Jessup. Well, 2 schools that have given the Potters a lot over the year, one during the regular season, because there's plenty of talent that's come from them, then gone on to D1s after, or has given us a lot of talent to start the season as temporary players, have been Folsom Lake College and Sierra College. The problem is, Folsom Lake College and Sierra College both made the state championship. So the Potters had to turn elsewhere for a lot of their temporary guys on opening weekend. They found a lot from Sac City and from Jessup. They ended up dropping 2 out of 3 to the Novato Knicks on opening weekend. But again, not time to hit the panic button when about 25% of your actual roster in the summer is going to be there. They significantly out-hit the Knicks in all 3 games, but the game I was at, they did win it. It was opening night. They ended up pulling off the 5-2 victory. A couple local guys ended up getting the decisions for pitching. Pioneer High School alum Anthony Perez got the win for the Potters, and then Placer alum Peyton Stumbo got the save. So that was pretty cool. I actually asked Stumbo how it feels being a Placer guy, having a bunch of Lincoln fans cheering for him all of a sudden, if that felt kind of out of place. But no, an impressive showing for them, starting off the John Peters era with the win. So, good for the Potters. I'll be back there tonight, actually checking them out playing the Sac Yankees. And, it's nice. If you haven't been to a Lincoln Potter game yet, I would highly recommend it. It is great quality baseball. It is cheap. It's an awesome environment. They have good merch. They have good food. They have, for those of you that are old enough, they have good beverages. I mean, it's exactly like what you would want to see at a major league or minor league ballpark in a small town environment. It's almost like if they combined high school football with minor league baseball, if that makes sense.
I agree. I get to a game or two a year. I like going up there.
Yeah.
Do you know the scores of the other two games?
I believe it was 5-4 Knicks and 10-8 Knicks.
Oh, so okay, they weren't like high scoring.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a ton, and I think I'm interested to see what the Potters have today because, like I said, that opening weekend's tough. But are the Folsom Lake guys and Sierra guys gonna report today, or are they maybe gonna take a few days to, unwind before reporting? Which is always we have a lot of guys that do that. So I think it's gonna be a very different roster today. And yeah, we'll see what it turns out. League play starts next week, so hopefully a lot of the guys are getting in soon. And yeah, I mean, I think I'm just looking forward to another great summer of baseball out there. And also, McBean Park is an awesome venue to watch a baseball game. I mean, a lot of history there and just, a really cool venue and cool vibe around that ballpark.
Now that they have the shade structures up, I like it.
Oh, yeah. Wait till you see what they did now. They redid the beer garden, they paved the VIP area, they've, revamped the kids zone. They're going all in. And I think they signed like a 10-year lease with that park. And I've talked to them about some things they want to do to improve that park, and it's going to be one of those. If you're a baseball fan, it's going to start to become one of those must-see venues.
Yeah.
If you are into that, I mean, I love summer ball stuff, and I've always said a dream of mine would just be to do a road trip around the country and catch minor league and summer ball games just around the country and see how everyone does it different, and the cool thing in each stadium.
Yeah.
But anyway, should we? I'll say this. I know we've named some of our athletes of the year. I know not all of our stuff is posted on it. Should we wait until next week and maybe get into it since we've got a long show already, or should we talk about the ones that have posted?
Yeah, we could probably save like our athletes of the year, moments of the year, teams of the year for next week. If we have any athletes we want to shout out or highlight from this week, we can. I know I have a couple on here. I guess I'll go ahead and go through mine. Then if you guys have any you want to shout out or talk about, go right ahead. My South Placer athlete of the week is going to be Jack Gouffran for going the distance with the 10 strikeouts and 100 pitches in the complete game win. So yeah, great game for him. What was funny though is, and this is actually one thing I didn't mention when talking about my Whitney recap, is I had chosen him already before Whitney softball played their game on Saturday, and then Hannah Duncan goes out and gets 12 strikeouts in the complete game shutout win. So I'm probably going to have to choose her next week for my athlete of the week, but I will still get into who my athletes of the year will be for next week's show when we get to that point.
All right, Matt, how about you?
Yeah, I went with Brooklyn Parator, Oak Ridge freshman catcher. She's been a starter from day one. She leads the team in batting average for catcher, 515. I mean, that's pretty damn good. Hits 35, doubles 10, triples 3, extra base hits 13. Second on the team in runs scored with 19, and fourth in runs batted with 14. So she's just been incredible from the start for the Trojans.
All right, I like it. I got to give my shout out to actually a few Potter guys that are local products. Like I said, Peyton Stumbo got the save for the Potters. He actually signed his contract to play with them like 5 days before he makes his appearance. He's usually a starter at Nevada, but he ends up coming in out of the bullpen, throwing 2 innings in relief, and struck out, I think, 4 of the 7 batters he faced. So good for him. But then JT Maloney with the Potters as well, a Del Oro alum. He had a pretty good opening weekend. Let me see. His stats are pulling up slowly here. But a fun story about Maloney actually is him and Stumbo were best friends growing up. They played Little League together. They were very good friends, end up going to different high schools. So, they don't get to be together. And then the Potters end up, they come back together on the Potters. They help them out big on opening weekend. So shout out to them. The stats are being slow. So, I don't have them in front of me on that, but still, I thought that was a pretty cool story that, hey, 2 childhood friends that grew up playing together, go to different high schools, and then all of a sudden you're playing summer ball together for your local team. That's got to be kind of a fun experience for them. But I think, I think that's kind of going to do it for this week's episode. Aaron, Matt, before we get going, do you guys have anything you want to add?
Just add that in terms of where I'll be this week, it's kind of still at least Thursday is a question mark, just because it depends on what happens today with NorCal stuff. Ideally, I'd like to have at least 2 or 3 of my teams that are still playing come Thursday, and then somehow maybe an 8 seed upsets a 1 seed, and one of the baseball teams actually is home. But we'll see what happens. Obviously, the big one that I'm hoping for right now is Oak Ridge goes on the road to upset, and Whitney wins their game today, and then we get Whitney Oak Ridge for softball in the semis. If that's the case, me and Matt will probably one of us will be at that game at least for sure. Maybe both of us, depending on.
I think you have to wrestle to see who gets to go
there. Yeah. Well, like I said, it depends on what happens with baseball too. But regardless, I'll most likely be somewhere on Thursday for a NorCal semis game, and then Saturday I will be at Monterey Trail announcing the boys volleyball Optimist games. There's some athletes from all of our areas that will be in that, and then possibly after that a NorCal title game for baseball and softball. I'll keep my hopes up for that. Granite Bay did last year make it to the NorCal championship and played at Archbishop Mitty and lost. So we'll see if any teams can make a run this year. We also have, and we'll get into this probably. I'll probably mention this next week on the show, but we have multiple athletes that are going to be playing in the Optimist softball games at Capital Christian, which is going to be June 7th, which is a Wednesday, and then multiple athletes from all of our areas on June 11th, which is the Sunday after this week for Optimist baseball that will be played at Army Depot Ballpark. So I'll talk about that a little bit next week too.
All right, I like it. Matt, how about you? Do you have a game plan for the week yet, or is it kind of the same thing? You'll go where the wind takes you.
Yeah, hold on, Aaron. Where are you Saturday?
Saturday I'm going to be at Monterey Trail because that's where the Optimist boys volleyball games are going to be.
Oh, usually that game's played on Sunday, so okay. All right.
Yeah, usually it is, which is weird. Yeah, because they've done that for girls volleyball before, but yeah,
well, that is Saturday.
Yep.
Jordan, I'm really scared because other than me saying I'll be at Whitney on Thursday for the Oak Ridge Whitney match, I don't have any there on the schedule, so I'm really feeling useless and kind of scared right now. So
I was going to say I'll probably go to a Potters game on either Friday night or Sunday night to go cover for next week. I don't know yet. Well, Sunday would be afternoon, but I'll figure that out too.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Well, that's going to just about do it for this week's episode of the Gold Country Media Sports Jam. I've been Jordan.
I've been Aaron.
I'm Matt.
We will see you next time.